What happens after you die? What if I told you that death isn't the end, but merely a transition? That your consciousness doesn't extinguish, but transforms? For centuries, we've been taught to fear death, to see it as a final conclusion, the ultimate unknown. But Zen Buddhism offers a radically different perspective, one that ancient masters have understood for millennia. Every day, you're moving closer to death, yet modern society has conditioned you to push this reality aside, to distract yourself with the material world. Deep down, you've sensed there's something more to existence, something beyond the physical form you temporarily inhabit. And you're right. Rebirth is not a fantasy. It's a fundamental truth of existence. In this video, we're going to pull back the veil and reveal what really happens when you die, why rebirth occurs, and how understanding this process can transform your life right now, today. The conditioning against death. From the moment you were born, you were conditioned to see death as something distant, something to fear, something to avoid thinking about at all costs. Western society built walls around the concept of death, turning it into a taboo, a subject spoken about in hushed tones and clinical terms. But what if that conditioning wasn't just cultural habit? What if it was designed to keep you disconnected from one of life's most profound truths? Think back to when you were a child. Children naturally ask questions about death, and they approach the subject with curiosity rather than fear. Where did Grandma go? What happens when we die? These questions emerge from an intuitive sense that there must be something more, that consciousness doesn't simply blink out of existence. But what happened when you asked these questions? You were given simplified explanations, religious dogma, or told, nobody knows. Your natural curiosity about one of existence's most fundamental transitions was systematically shut down. Schools didn't teach you how to contemplate death, how to understand consciousness, or how to recognize the signs of rebirth all around you. Instead, they taught you to focus on material success, linear thinking, and the physical world. If you couldn't measure it with instruments or verify it with your physical senses, it wasn't considered real. The entire system is built on the idea that you should trust external authorities about death, religious leaders, scientists, doctors, never your own direct experience or inner knowing. Modern materialism became the ultimate gatekeeper, telling you that consciousness is merely a byproduct of brain activity, that when the brain dies, consciousness ends. Under this model, rebirth is impossible, dismissed as wishful thinking, cultural mythology, or psychological comfort. But here's what they don't tell you. Some of the greatest minds in human history, from Zen masters like Dogen and Hakuin to quantum physicists exploring consciousness, have recognized that consciousness isn't confined to the brain. They understood that rebirth isn't a supernatural belief, but a natural process, operating according to universal principles. And yet, mainstream science ridicules those who take these experiences seriously. Talk about rebirth openly, and you'll be labeled superstitious, irrational, or delusional. The people who recognize the continuity of consciousness are dismissed as spiritual fantasists, while those who embrace the materialist view are praised as rational, intelligent, and grounded. This isn't an accident, it's social conditioning, because the moment you start understanding rebirth, you realize something profound. Your existence isn't limited to this single lifetime. You're part of something much larger, a continuous flow of consciousness that transcends physical death. Some truths are too profound for YouTube, and I can't share everything here. That's why I've created the Moon Mind Temple Academy, where we explore the deeper teachings on consciousness and rebirth. Join today and receive our exclusive guide, The Bardos of Transition, Navigating Life, Death, and Rebirth. Visit the link in the description and enter your email to begin your journey. The truth about rebirth. The real reason modern society doesn't want you to understand rebirth is because it reveals a fundamental crack in the materialist illusion. It shows you that reality isn't just physical matter operating according to mechanical laws. It's an interconnected field of consciousness, responding to karma, intention, and awareness. Once you start seeing the patterns of rebirth, you can't unsee them, and that's where the real awakening begins. Because the next question becomes, if rebirth is real, what exactly happens when you die? Where does consciousness go, and why does it take new form? Let's go deeper. The mechanics of rebirth. At some point in your life, you've had unexplainable experiences that hinted at something beyond this lifetime. Perhaps you've entered a place for the first time, yet felt a deep familiarity with it. Or met someone new and immediately sensed a profound connection, as if you've known them before. Maybe you've discovered natural talents or inexplicable fears that have no basis in your current life experiences. These aren't random quirks of psychology. They're echoes from past lives, fragments of memory that survive the transition of death and rebirth. These aren't accidents. They are threads connecting your current consciousness to its previous manifestations. And the more you pay attention, the more apparent these connections become. But here's the real secret. Rebirth isn't about a soul or unchanging self that transfers from one body to another. This is what distinguishes Buddhist understanding from other traditions. In Zen Buddhism, rebirth occurs without a permanent self. What continues is not you as you currently identify yourself, but rather a stream of consciousness, a continuum of cause and effect, patterns of mind that flow from one life to the next, like a river changing course, yet remaining the same river. The Buddha called this concept anatta, or no self, one of the most profound and misunderstood teachings in all of Buddhism. Your consciousness isn't a solid, unchanging entity, but a process, a continual flow of awareness, perception, and response. When your body dies, this process doesn't stop. It transforms, following the karmic patterns you've established throughout your life. Karma isn't cosmic punishment or reward, as it's often misunderstood in Western culture. It's simply causality, operating at the level of consciousness. Every thought, every intention, every action creates patterns in your mind stream. These patterns don't disappear when the physical body dies. They continue, seeking expression in new forms, new circumstances, new lives. This is why Zen masters emphasize mindfulness and ethical conduct. They understand that they're not just shaping this life, but laying foundations for future manifestations of consciousness. Consider this. The entire universe is built on patterns and interconnected cycles. Seasons change in predictable sequences. Stars form, burn, and die in cosmic cycles. DNA passes information through generations. Everything in existence operates through patterns of transformation and renewal. So why would consciousness be the one element in the universe that simply terminates rather than transforms? The answer is, it doesn't. And rebirth is proof of this underlying continuity. But if rebirth is a natural process, then the question becomes, what exactly happens in the transition between death and new life? What experiences consciousness when the body is gone? The Bardo states, according to Zen Buddhism, and particularly the Tibetan tradition that deeply influenced certain schools of Zen, consciousness enters what's known as Bardo after death, an intermediate state between lives. The Bardo isn't a place, but a state of consciousness, a transitional experience that unfolds in stages. When your physical body dies, your consciousness doesn't immediately enter a new life. Instead, it undergoes a series of experiences determined by your karma, your level of awareness, and the patterns of mind you've cultivated throughout your life. For someone who has practiced awareness and mindfulness, this transition can be navigated consciously. For those who haven't developed this awareness, the Bardo states can seem chaotic, dreamlike, or frightening. During these Bardo states, Consciousness experiences the dissolution of the five elements, earth, water, fire, air, and space, that compose the physical body. As each element dissolves, different experiences arise. The solid element of earth dissolves, and you may experience the sensation of being crushed or trapped. The water element dissolves, bringing sensations of flowing or drowning. The fire element dissolves with experiences of extreme heat or cold. The air element dissolution brings sensations of being scattered or blown apart. Finally, the space element dissolves, and consciousness experiences vast emptiness. For the unprepared mind, these dissolutions can trigger fear and resistance. But for the practitioner who understands these stages, they become opportunities for liberation. This is why Zen practitioners and other Buddhists spend their lives cultivating awareness of impermanence and emptiness. They're preparing for this transition. After these dissolutions, consciousness experiences what's known as the clear light of reality, the fundamental nature of mind, pure awareness without conceptual overlay. This moment offers the greatest opportunity for liberation from the cycle of rebirth. Those who recognize this clear light and rest within it can achieve enlightenment at the moment of death, transcending the need for rebirth entirely. But most beings, due to karma and habitual patterns, cannot maintain awareness of this clear light. Consciousness then moves through various experiences shaped by karmic imprints, eventually being drawn toward new birth according to these patterns. This is where karma operates most powerfully, not as judgment but as the natural momentum of your established mental patterns seeking continued expression. The consciousness that takes rebirth isn't an unchanging soul or self, but neither is it completely different from the person who died. It's like a flame passed from one candle to another. Not the same flame, but not entirely different either. This is what Zen means by rebirth without a permanent self, continuity without identity. Modern neuroscience confirms that your brain filters reality based on established patterns of perception and attention. Similarly, your karmic patterns filter the possibilities of rebirth, drawing consciousness towards circumstances that align with these established tendencies. This explains why people often feel inexplicable connections to certain places, people, or activities. These are resonances with patterns established in previous lives, but this goes deeper than psychology. Quantum physics has suggested that consciousness plays a fundamental role in shaping reality. The famous double-slit experiment showed that the mere act of observation changes the behavior of particles at the subatomic level. This connection between consciousness and physical reality points toward the possibility that consciousness isn't produced by the brain, but rather channeled through it. A perspective that aligns perfectly with the Buddhist understanding of rebirth. Now combine this with the Buddhist principle of dependent origination. Everything arises from causes and conditions. Nothing exists independently. Your current consciousness isn't separate from everything that came before it. It's a continuation, transformed but connected. Your present awareness arises from conditions that extend beyond this single lifetime, reaching into previous manifestations of the same stream of consciousness. Why some people remember past lives? If rebirth is happening to everyone, why do only some people remember past lives? Why do certain individuals have vivid recollections while others experience no connection to previous existences? The answer is simpler than you might think. Awareness. Most people live their entire lives in a state of disconnection, identified with their current personality, memories, and experiences. They're conditioned to believe that this is all they are, a temporary collection of thoughts, feelings, and sensations housed in a physical body. This belief system acts as a mental barrier that blocks awareness of previous lives. Think of it like this. Imagine your full stream of consciousness as a vast ocean, but you're only looking at the waves on the surface. The depths contain everything, all past experiences, all previous manifestations. but your attention is fixed only on the current movement of the water. The entire ocean is still there, but you're perceiving only a tiny fraction of it. Now contrast that with people who remember past lives. These individuals are not special or chosen. They have simply maintained or developed a broader awareness that extends beyond current personality. Children often remember past lives more easily because their conditioning is less rigid. They haven't yet fully identified with their current personality. As they grow and their current identity solidifies, these memories typically fade. People who meditate regularly, particularly in traditions that emphasize the observation of mind rather than identification with it, sometimes begin recovering past life memories. This happens because meditation weakens the grip of the current personality, allowing broader awareness to emerge. This is why Zen puts such emphasis on meditation and mindfulness. These practices aren't just about reducing stress or improving concentration. They're about seeing through the illusion of a fixed self, recognizing the broader stream of consciousness of which your current life is just one manifestation. Your subconscious mind carries impressions from past lives, influencing your current preferences, fears, talents, and relationships. When you have an unexplainable phobia, an instant connection with a stranger, or an unusual talent that emerged with minimal training, you're experiencing the effects of patterns established in previous lives. But accessing these memories directly requires a different relationship with consciousness, one that modern society doesn't teach or encourage. It requires quieting the narrative of the current personality enough to allow deeper patterns to emerge into awareness. The scientific community largely dismisses past life memories as imagination, confabulation, or suggestion. But researchers like Dr. Ian Stevenson and Dr. Jim Tucker at the University of Virginia have documented thousands of cases of children with verifiable memories of previous lives, memories that include specific details they couldn't have learned through normal means. These researchers found that these children's birthmarks often correspond to fatal wounds from the previous life, and they can identify people and places they've never encountered in their current life. This evidence suggests that consciousness does indeed continue from one life to another, carrying information and patterns across the boundary of death. But modern materialist science, committed to the belief that consciousness emerges solely from brain activity, struggles to incorporate this evidence into its framework. Integrating the understanding of rebirth. Now that you understand the reality of rebirth, the natural question becomes, how does this knowledge change how you live? Because understanding rebirth isn't just theoretical, it transforms your entire relationship with life and death. First, it expands your sense of time. When you recognize that your current life is one chapter in an ongoing journey, you develop greater patience and perspective. Projects that might take decades to complete no longer seem impossible. Difficult circumstances become more bearable when seen as temporary conditions rather than defining realities. Second, it deepens your sense of responsibility. If your actions in this life create patterns that continue into future lives, every choice matters. This doesn't mean living in fear of karmic consequences, but rather developing awareness of how your current actions shape the ongoing stream of consciousness. Zen emphasizes living ethically, not from fear of punishment, but from understanding of causality. Third, it reduces fear of death. When you understand that death is transition rather than termination, it loses its ultimate terror. This doesn't mean ignoring the natural human grief around losing loved ones or facing your own mortality, but it transforms your relationship with these experiences. Death becomes a threshold rather than an end. Fourth, it changes how you view relationships. The people in your life aren't random strangers, but consciousness you've likely encountered before in different forms. This recognition fosters compassion and patience, even in difficult relationships. The person who challenges you today may have been a beloved friend in a previous life, or might become one in a future manifestation. Finally, understanding rebirth puts proper emphasis on consciousness rather than material acquisition. Modern society teaches you to accumulate wealth, possessions, and achievements as if they define your worth. But from the perspective of rebirth, what matters is the quality of consciousness you develop, the awareness you cultivate, and the patterns of mind you establish. Everything else stays behind when the body dies. So what will you do with this knowledge? Most people, even after hearing everything we've just covered, will go back to living as if this physical life is all that exists. They'll notice signs of previous lives but dismiss them as imagination. They'll continue prioritizing temporary material gain over the development of consciousness. They'll treat death as something to avoid thinking about, rather than a transition to prepare for mindfully. But now you see the larger picture. Now you understand that your existence isn't random or isolated, but part of an ongoing stream of consciousness, continuously transforming according to the patterns you establish. Your awareness isn't confined to this body or this lifetime. It's far more vast and enduring than you've been taught to believe. If there's one thing you take away from this video, let it be this. You are not just your current personality, memories, or circumstances. You are consciousness in process, constantly flowing, changing, and responding. And that consciousness doesn't end when the body dies. It continues, following the patterns you're establishing right now, in this moment. The people who live with the deepest peace are those who understand this truth, not intellectually, but experientially. They've seen beyond the illusion of a permanent self to recognize the continuous flow of consciousness. And because of this, they approach both life and death with equanimity, curiosity, and presence. But here's the thing. There's far more to this than I can share here. If you want to deepen your understanding of death, rebirth, and the Bardo states, I highly recommend reading the Tibetan Book of Living and Dying by Sogyal Rinpoche. This modern classic brings ancient wisdom into contemporary language, offering profound insights into the nature of mind, consciousness, and the journey through death and rebirth. It's a life-changing text that has guided millions through their understanding of these profound Buddhist teachings. I've included a link in the description where you can find this essential book. You've seen the patterns, you've felt the resonance of truth. Now it's time to stop living as if this life is all there is and start recognizing the vast continuity of consciousness that you are. Pay attention to the signs, follow your intuition, develop your awareness. Because once you understand rebirth, you'll realize that you're not just a temporary visitor to existence. You are existence itself, continuously expressing, continuously transforming, continuously being. If this video resonated with you, make sure to hit the subscribe button and join our Moon Mind Temple community as we continue to explore the profound teachings of Zen Buddhism together.